On commence dans quelques minutes. Donc là, on va peut-être débuter pour dans le bouquet. C'est bon. Bon matin à tous. Mon nom est François Borelli. Je m'occupe d'innovation chez TechnoMontreal. Je vous remercie d'être ici ce matin. Ce matin, c'est un nouvel événement pour nous. C'est la première dans la série qu'on appelle Humanitek. Humanitek, c'est le think tank de TechnoMontreal. C'est une nouvelle initiative qui a été mise en place tout récemment. On lui a donné le nom de Humanitek, qui est les technologies au cœur de l'humain. Et l'idée du think tank, c'est de parler de divers sujets, tant technologiques, socio-économiques, dans ce cas-ci un peu plus académiques, qui ont un impact au niveau des technologies de l'information dans son écosystème, dans son ensemble. Donc, entreprises, universités, et évidemment, les gens qui sont au cœur de la chose. Donc, ce matin, nous avons l'occasion, parce qu'il est de passage à Montréal, de recevoir le docteur Teemu Santonen, qui vient de Finlande. Je vais essayer de lire rapidement quelques lignes de sa biographie. J'avais demandé une courte biographie, malheureusement, elle est très longue, comme tous les académiciens font d'habitude. Dr Santonen a un doctorat en technologie de l'information de l'Université de Aalto, en Finlande. Il est impliqué dans plusieurs programmes européens. Je discutais avec ce matin, il n'enseigne presque plus parce qu'il y a beaucoup de projets, surtout en santé. I know you don't understand, but trust me. I won't be sure. Il est dans des projets européens et entre autres en santé, en well-being. Demain, il y a un autre atelier ici à Montréal dans ce secteur. Puis d'ailleurs, il y a l'initiative d'Open Science, de laquelle il va nous parler ce matin. Donc, c'est ça, je vais arrêter là pour prendre plus de temps de discussion avec le docteur Santonen. Et s'il y a des questions, à la fin, par rapport à TechnoMontreal et au think tank, je vais être autour, vous pouvez vous poser des questions.
Je voulais juste remercier aussi, grand merci à Talsom, a big thank you
to
oui. Talsom who are co-hosting with us today this presentation, and there will be many others coming with the other members of TechnoMontreal.
C'est ça. C'est bon? So, Teemu, the floor is yours.
Okay. Okay, pleased to meet you all. Happy to be here again. This is actually my third time in Montreal. First time I was here in 2008 because of this lovely man who says something about me. Invited me to talk about the crowdsourcing-based open science and open national innovation system. So basically, we are doing a little bit same stuff, but because of the world is changing, so we also have to change. I think it might be a good idea also say something about the place where we're coming from, so you know that what kind of an environment we are operating. So we come from the Helsinki-Uusimaa region, which is hopefully everybody knows. In Canada, I'm assuming everybody knows where Finland is. And the Helsinki, if I would be in US, I wouldn't be so sure. It's basically what we call as the super regions in Europe. So it's one of the most competitive areas in terms of the innovation and the economy and so forth. So basically meaning that there's a high competition also among the universities. We have 4 universities and 7 applied science universities in our region. So luckily we've been pretty successful in that sense that we are the second most popular university in Finland, right after the art university, which is of course a little bit different than the normal, let's say the normal science universities. And one of the reasons that we've been probably quite successful, we have this approach what we call learning by developing. It's our pedagogical model where we actually, because we come from the applied science university, so we're not focusing on the basic issues, but more like how to do things in collaboration with the companies, public sector, and the users. And that's been kind of inherited in all our activities. So that is one of the key issues for us. Just quickly, what are the main areas that what we do is the service innovation and design. We have one of the oldest service design master programs in the world and in Europe. We started in 2006, so doing pretty long time of that. That is combined with our learning by development model, and as well we have this innovation related stuff. And for example, students in our university, they can enroll to the program and they can establish their own company and do all their studies throughout that kind of an approach. And we apply this thing on different thematical domains like health and well-being, and risk management is also one of our key areas, or the security management is one of the key areas. But we do plenty of other things. Personally, I'm involved, for example, circular economy projects, which is of course probably hot topic also in Canada. So I was thinking about talking in a way that I kind of describe a little bit like what are the ecosystem conditions and the market environment that where we are operating, and then talk about a little bit about that, how to get there. Because of course the environment that where you're operating is influencing greatly. I do not know very detailed that what is the situation in Montreal and in Canada, but I was checking, for example, in terms of the open data, we are at the 5th place and Canada is also at the 5th place. Of course there are the differences between the area. The Helsinki region where I am, it's very high on this open data issues. Cities are publishing the data very greatly, and if you go to the, let's say, the regions and the countrysides, that is of course not the case. Probably the same in here. So everybody probably knows the open innovation because it's been talking already like the past 15 years or something like that, and even before that we had it, we were calling it a different name. And this kind of an illustration kind of just highlights the things that even though from the open innovation era we are kind of entering, or we are already in kind of an ecosystemic centric approach. It's not about any individual company or individual players, but it's more about how the whole ecosystem is working. And that's why today I'm talking about how the universities can help the kind of take a certain role in this kind of an ecosystem, and not kind of competing with the companies or the consulting companies or the service design companies who are providing pretty similar services, but then how we can be a complementary. And then we have, of course, because we come to service design co-creation, the approaches, we believe highly on this kind of user-driven thing, not like the companies, the going with the technological-driven issues that we have this solution, that solution, let's put this on the market and let's see what happens. It's all about how we engage the users already from the idea generation phases, not using only them as a kind of static persons who are testing something what is already existing and do a minor modification, but actually transferring and empowering for them to build up their own process and own services, and throughout that kind of change how the cities are working. And in Europe, we are at the time of the, I would say, radical renewal of the science systems. We have this, European Commission has launched this 3 open strategy: open science, open innovation, open to the world. And that's fundamental change. Everything will be different. That's the fact. And because EU has been decided that each country will do that, and it was already been taking place. And as always, Finland is very eager always to be a leader in some issues, and the Ministry of Education and the country's universities have been claiming that we want to be the trendsetter in the open science. And of course, our the Finland and of course like Canada is pretty open in general, and we have a long tradition of the the collaboration between the classic triple helix models that has been university, companies, and the public sector, and now also with the quadruple helix model where we have the users. So that is kind of an inherited our society, and basically it means that we have to have this transdisciplinary, multi-stakeholder approach which takes the users and citizens as active players. But like I say, we operate also in the healthcare and well-being sector. It has to be like an open as possible, but as close as needed. So, for example, if we do stuff related to the sensitive healthcare issues. We cannot be, of course, doing exactly the same things as comparing to something else, but there are different methods how to do like pseudo-anonymization of the data and so forth, so that is doable. And also in our environment, the national and regional strategies are pushing us to make the place as attractive to the companies and the investors as possible. So that is trying for us. And basically it says that we cannot head for the incremental innovation, but more about radical innovations or breakthrough innovation, whatever term you want to follow. And because the public funding will go there, because this is very important for us as a university. That's of course the main source for income for our research activities, and especially these kind of the major societal challenges, which are so difficult to solve that you need multiple players to do that. Single company or single organization is not able to solve them. So by open science, the list of these is coming from the European Commission, and let's assume that they are true in that sense. So the main drivers behind that are better ROI and R&D investments, because the reusable resources, exactly the same thing like in circular economy. If we've been building a lamp or whatever and we circulate it to electronics, why don't we reuse it? That not kind of always do everything from the scratch. And of course there's a faster circulation of the new ideas, and very important, transparency. When we are using the public money, we should be knowing that where does it go and what we do with that. And like I said, this current societal challenges need a cross-disciplinary research. And I personally do not like this cross-disciplinary word. I'm more into diversity. This is one of my papers about how to manage the diversity, because we know from the innovation management theories that when you increase the diversity of the participants, you increase the creativity. Also, you would end up in the more innovative, more different kinds of solutions. But there's a problem with that one. It's difficult to put the different kinds of people to work to and discuss together. It takes some time to understand each other. And that's why I always claim that you have to manage the diversity. So we are now operating this kind of a cultural diversity situation. I come from Finland and you are from Canada. So basically your environment is different. And if you put somebody from Asia and Africa here, totally different situation. So culture really is influencing greatly. And organizational diversity, somebody is from the university, public sector, SME, or the NGO, and so forth. And the user-driven diversity. We have all kinds of people. We have people with disabilities, hearing problems, or do not see, or cannot walk, and also in every service or the products people are using, we have different types of the user. Somebody wants this and somebody wants that. It's very important. It's actually one of the foundation of the service design, co-creation, thinking that we understand the user. And there are methods like personas, which are kind of defining the stereotype type of the different kinds of user. And once you understand who is the user, for you it's then more easy to develop the service. Cross-functional diversity basically meaning that you have a person, let's say, like engineer, and you have a managing director, somebody in finance, marketing department, so people having different kinds of job profiles. And cross-industry, cross-disciplinary issue, pretty simple, people from the different domains. Like in healthcare, we have this big healthcare reform going on in Finland at the moment. I personally think that they are not able to solve their problem as only if the healthcare people are talking together. They should be like people from the different industries also together in order to come up with the new solutions. And there's this talk about, now we see that a lot of this, that open science is new stuff. Not exactly. It's been around since the Middle Ages. If you want to know more about the history, here's a reference for that one. But basically it means that our current setting, there's going to be a change. So how we conduct research, how we share the information, and what kind of practices we are operating. And these are kind of the policy priorities for the open science that the Commission is doing. So it's about the open data, these fair share principles, science cloud, there should be like available for the other researchers. Altmetrics, meaning that we have to have also different ways to measure the impact of the work, not only like citation or the impact factor of the individual journal, which are how they select professors, for example, the university positions. It's how many publications, how many citations, and how influential you have been. But if you think about that, you do a YouTube video and you have a social media channel with 1 million users, so I think that might be a little bit more impactful than a single scientific paper, but it has a different meaning for that one. Rewarding and so forth. And then today we are talking about a bit more like this educational skills and citizen science, how we can engage the users as a part of those activities. Open science is a kind of a big topic of different kind of areas are involved. We have the open access, we have the open data, open reproducible research, open science evolution, open science policies, and open science tools. And open access basically meaning that you will have an access to the scientific publication and you don't have to pay it. And there are different ways to do that. I mean, our university library services has been a really great, because what we do is that we follow this parallel publication. Whenever you do a publication, we just send the final version to our library, and they contact all the publishing companies and whoever is managing those publishing platforms, and they sort it out for us when it can be parallel publication, if it's an embargo time or whatever. I don't have to care anything, I just send the file. The best service that typically we have a bit of the kind of problems with the administration as in many cases, but this is the best service that I have ever seen. I don't have to do anything, and they do it for me. I love the service. Open data is about. It's not only about the actual final outcome of the project, the publication that you are, what is important, but also actually the data. Because then you can use the data and you can compound the data. If somebody is doing let's say research on the transportation, I was on Friday, I came here from the airport, and you have this big kind of renewal of the motorway or the road. So they're probably influencing a lot of this environment, and if you do research and stuff like that, it would be nice to combine data from different places. And of course, for that you will be needing a data management plan, and there are tools and there are processes which are helping you to do that based on the open science principles. Open reproducible research is about revealing the process so detailed that anybody would be replicating that. That's one of the fundamentals of the scientific approach, is that we should be able to replicate what somebody else has been done. But in many cases, you do not reveal actually very detail about what you do. Open science evaluation is about how we review the results. Open science policies are important in that sense that, like I said, the Ministry of Education and the EU has set up the policies for this one. So that makes us as an organization who gets funding from them to operate in that way. Exactly the same thing as the City of Montreal or the region here says that this is the policy that we are following. So then it will be happening. And there are different kinds of tools for that one. And then a couple of the kind of, I come from the university, I have to present some theories also, because we are big believers and there are, the theories behind the issues. We believe this kind of a transformation maturity model. And what we do is I call this like a methodological transformation. So we are executing individual projects. Everybody do this. It's pretty easy. We have done hundreds of projects. You have done hundreds of projects. The problem is that in most cases, the information do not spread or scale up from the project. When the funding ends, it stays over there and nothing happens. things and how we do things. Those who were involved with that particular project know how to apply the open science, know how to apply the users as part of the process. The next level, what I call, is an operational transformation phase, where you actually change the kind of the management and policies and processes within the organization. It can be a university, it can be a company, it can be whatever is the organization. So this kind of a way of open science and user engagement becomes as a normal or as a business as usual operation. And throughout that, I give you a couple of examples from Helsinki region. They renewed the public transportation cards, the digital cards. They just forget about the blind people because there was these touchscreen-based things, and blind people couldn't use those. So they had, for a while, they had to, they used the services for free because they couldn't use, and after that they put like a €1 million upgrade of system, so it could be usable. Okay, anybody can make a mistake once, right? No big problem. Now the city builds up a new healthcare center. It's greatly accessible, everything is fine, you can move with a wheelchair or whatever with them. Same touchscreens. They're not exactly the same touchscreens, but anyway, touchscreens. So that says that left hand doesn't know what right hand is doing the same problem. So if there would be a users with those disabilities already in the beginning of the process, it would be very easy to detect these kind of issues. And today the topic is about the ecosystemic transformation. It needs the players, it needs the users who are capable of doing this, it needs the organizations who are capable of doing this. And it will happen only if you have a lot of players from this who have done this kind of operational transformation. Otherwise, you are still doing single individual projects. And I tell you, nobody is over there at the moment. And the other thing is citizen engagement. Very nice to have, and sometimes very difficult to achieve. And we have these models where we know that we first have to inform the citizens about the possibilities, that these kind of things are possible to do. And of course, it's like it shouldn't be like a boring message that, okay, we have this and that. More about that, how do you engage them, what is the message, and how do you inspire them to be a part. And once they know about the possibilities, you should have like a low threshold events and things where they can very easily participate if there are some kind of an interest over there. And once they show the genuine interest, then they can join these kind of citizen science projects as an active member over there. But eventually the primary goal is over there that we empower them to create their own projects and their own stuff in a way. And they start kind of engaging the new users who will go to the same track. And then it's about also taking account those kind of people and also using this as a completely advancing way. But this doesn't happen without efforts. But what if we engage this already from the primary schools? We have this, in Finland we reformed this basic education curriculum. We call it, I don't know if you heard about it, but it's kind of a phenomenon-based curriculum, which means that instead of having like a mathematics lesson and the biology lesson and the geography lesson, you would have like a phenomenon which integrates all of these together, and students or the student could be having like a project where all of these kind of integrates. Okay, I go there, I calculate certain kind of flowers, for example, and whatever they try to discover these kind of issues, and then they do math work on top of that, and so forth. And once they do that, they learn to kind of be a part of these kind of bigger assignments in a way where the multiple persons are doing their things together. So, and if we do that, let's say next 15 years we do that, it will happen in a way that the people will have the skills and capabilities to do different things. And in Finland we have this great law also that we have to we have these youth councils. I'm not sure if you have those in Canada, but children from 13 to was like 18, and they have this in each city and each community there's this youth council, and they are kind of elected among the youth, and they have a the role in the parliament discussions in the city level. So they have to be heard on certain issues, on the issues. We have to hear their voices. So that's very important for us. And then we are entering in the living lab environment. What is a living lab? It's a real world context, doing things in the real world context. We have a multi-stakeholder participation, like a discussion, user engagement. It's all about the co-creation and using of different kinds of methods depending on what we are actually doing. So this is the fundamental approach what we are doing. And it's about the service design approach. It's always starting in the kind of exploring phase where we understand the context, opportunities and the challenges. Then we do a co-creation by using multiple methods and together with the multiple stakeholders. We do a testing and implementing something in the real life environment, and then we collect feedback and do the analysis, and then we do it again. And of course, depending on what kind of a solution you become, you can do a different kind of an iteration. It doesn't have to be always the whole round, and you can have a parallel processes going on at the same time. And in general, I've been doing a development since mid-90s. I have never get in a goal, achieving on the course in the run and the first run. It's if somebody says has done it, so they didn't try high enough in a way. So that's the truth. So I was talking about this learning by developing approach, and I think the key here is about how we integrate the research development and innovation activities together with the teaching, because they cannot be separate entities, otherwise it's too expensive. And actually in Finland we have the Applied Science University's agenda is a little bit different than the Science University. Science University is about the teaching and doing research. So they are, by the law, that's their task. But we have the teaching, R&D activities, but also the regional development. By the law, we have to do that. And that's why if we would be doing this as separate entities, it would be too expensive. We couldn't have a scale, so we have to do things together. So what is the solution? And one important thing is also that in Applied Science Universities, depending on the degree program, about 1/3 of the studies are done in the internships. So the student will go to the actual working place and do the stuff over there. So they have the practical hands-on understanding about what is happening over there. And of course, when you go as a new employee in a new place, you see things a little bit differently than the existing ones. And that's a great asset. And you will have those kind of classes only a certain amount of the time. Afterwards, you become same as everybody else. So what we are kind of doing is collecting this longitudinal market and user data by using the traditional service design approaches, observation, interviews, and so forth. We've been doing that as a part of the intensive assignments, but not as a systemic level. It has been like between the teacher and student and the local employee. We haven't done this at the university level, which would be kind of manage it at a collective at a systematic approach. And this is something that we are now changing. So we are heading for the systematic approach over there. And cool thing about this that each year we have a new students, and we run this every year. What will happen? We can compare the results for the previous years and see that if there are any kind of changes happening. And based on that, what you can do is, like I was earlier talking about in service design, you can use kind of define based on that data. You can define these personas, which are kind of representing at what kind of users. And of course, it can be an employee also. You have this kind of employees. But anyway, generic stereotypic description of the certain kind of persons. And the other thing is that we've been doing in a way that when we have a project, we are always engaged in the users for that particular project. Really time-consuming process. Instead of we are heading now for the permanent end-user panels, which also have very we are highlighting the need of the people with disabilities as one of the key target groups, because those are typically kind of difficult to get in. And if you'll be working with them, there will be like a certain kind of troubles, because if somebody is not hearing or not seeing, and you are running a co-creation workshops, it's a little bit more difficult than running a workshop with the people who have all the senses available. And that's why the idea is there is that at the same time, we are trying to teach them to become as experts by experience. We have already been teaching, for example, for the local hospitals, a certain kind of patients to become an expert as an experience. And in a way, offer them also as a job opportunity to become an expert on this field. Because we know that people with the disabilities have difficulties in sometimes to get a job. But like in here, there would be a great opportunity for them to become as a professionals in this particular field. And then we can teach them these capabilities. And then the important thing is the joint teaching and narrative environment with the working life actors. And in here I would be highlighting that you should have like a, let's say if you are doing working with, for example, in your senior citizen houses, not only having one, but having multiple, and then running different kinds of experiments in these different environments. And then you can have a cross-case analysis and you have more reliable validation about how much of impact of this kind of an issue will have or this kind of an issue will have. And then it's all about that what kind of productized services you will have for this co-creation activities, because it takes time to plan all the activities and how to do it. And once you do that, you will be kind of able to create this cumulative open data and open science. And then you have to think about it, how you engage this as a part of the citizen engagement ladder. Because if you're thinking about how we inform that this is possible, how they can show very easily, how can they run this by themselves, and what is our support for that one. By the way, you will get the slides, so no worry about that. And my suggestion is how to get there is about the kind of a limited set of high quality scalable productized co-creation services, because if you plan this like one by one each time, it's 2 months effort for you. And then you have to find the courses and activities within the teaching which are suitable for this, because not everything is suitable. For example, we did the mapping in our school about all the courses that have that kind of elements, and we could see that what kind of activities there are. And then we did because we have this skill-based curriculum, we know that in that particular course, students are learning these kind of skills. And if you know the skills, you can transfer them as project activities. Let's say you in this particular course, you learn to become a, let's say, project manager. Then you have in that environment, you will have like a task which need a project manager or marketing capabilities, or running a facilitator in a workshop, for example. And then, like in every organization, we have a different business units or the faculties or whatever you call them, and there's always the rivalry between the players, because if there's a money, there's a rivalry. So then it would be in a way that good idea that you will divide the management procedure in a way that everybody have a certain slots, and it cannot be working unless everybody's working together. Then it's basically everybody is winning, and not like one kind of a unit is stealing everything and other ones are not complaining about that. And then it's also that about this kind of we have also this problem about that who are the skillful persons to run these kind of activities within the faculty. and that's why you should have like a job rotation where you kind of learning these kind of activities as a permanent task, that you are not only doing the project management all the time, but at some time you will be the panel manager who will be kind of doing that, and that's why you will have a more skillful persons in the organization. And the partners are a very important role in here. Who are your partners who share the same vision and strategy as you? And this, like I said previously, the permanent end user panel, I believe, generated personas. And then about the data management also. Each university have the great library services. They are expert on doing that, so better to use those as a resource. Just a quick illustration that how it should be or could be seen. Maybe I will. Yeah. So basically, if you try to get the funding, you have to manage that. But unless you do not go to markets, it's pretty difficult to aim for what has been done previously. What is the market need? You will get this longitudinal data, and you have your resource management. And then once you run the things, you have these productized co-creation services, and you have this matching profile with the teaching. And throughout that, you do also research to understand what is the impact of the activities. And throughout that, you will have the open data, and you have the personas, and you have the panels, and you can do the kind of and the joint living lab activities over there. I think there's plenty of other stuff in more detail, but I think this was the kind of the basic overall level message that I wanted to deliver. It's all about the same as when I first time in here, I was developing this crowdsourcing based, the National Open Innovation System, which was actually awarded in Finland as a best school related innovation in the, was it 2008 or 2009. It was all about making a minor change to operational practices and using a single student as an entity to do a small task. We had a certain, like in every case, you might have a good idea, but it might be difficult to implement. At that time, we faced a little bit resistance from the teachers, not wanting to change their practices. But now the time has been changed. We have this kind of more kind of the open environment of doing these kind of things. At least co-creation service design in Finland is very hot topic. Everybody wants that. So this is kind of the new version of the same basic idea. Small change, operational practices, you don't have to do a lot as to change things. But when we do, like it's like ants when they build up the house or whatever it's called, the 1 and 2 small thing, but you have we have 8,000 ants. So that's really impressive in that sense. Okay, but I bit over time, but yeah.
Thank you. Thanks. We'd just like to take the opportunity from Talsom to thank you for being here. Thank you guys also for being in. I'm in here, so they're telling me I'm not in the. Thank you. So I just wanted to quickly just probably introduce actually what we do and why it made sense for us to have you here is, so we're a consultancy firm, as you said, actually do service design and do it from the beginning in terms of really looking at the needs of people, the user research and all, but also helping them through the whole execution part. So we have teams that do change management, teams that do project management, and I think you touched base on that. That's that part of where it's really important to make that change management as well, if it's within the ecosystem, but also within companies where we see that these kinds of things are really difficult for them to embrace new approaches, embrace new innovative services or product. And so for us, it made a lot of sense. And I just wanted to start a Q&A, just ask you a question. How, because for a lot of things that we do, some of our users are actually within the company, right? And so as much as I can understand and see how we can do it for users that are in the market and use universities for that, how can we use universities also for users that are within companies and get those user research data?
Doing research within the company.
Yes.
I can see that that's much more easier to us, because if I'm a company owner or I'm a manager, I can tell my employees to participate on certain things. So in that sense, you are in a much more helpful situation. But also, as we know, that there has been a lot of like these crowdsourcing-based applications, even in the large organization, and you do not get the input from the users. And then it's more about that, how you make that and engaging in a way and make sure that if I contribute on something, I also see transparently what will be happening over there. It's not like I go to the workshop and we do a lot of great things and then they go to black box. Nobody knows what happened. Because why do I want to contribute if it doesn't have any impact? Or you use this as like in many organizations, let's ask from the users and employees,
right.
And that's just a trick to to say that we've been listening to you. But does it have really kind of an impact? And this is actually what we are following, because in many cases when you start discussing with the users, you get the outcome that is not very good for your original idea.
Right.
And that's all about, it's actually better to discover that in the early phase than in the later phase, because as we know from the innovation management, it's easy to make changes at the conceptual level, instead of when you have your, let's say, digital application fully ready and done, and then you discover, like the case of this transportation thing, that that we just forget about this certain particular user groups. So I think that drops also the citizen engagement model. It doesn't matter if you're inside the company or you are outside of the company. You inform them about the possibilities to join, and then you have this low threshold level activities to join, and those who are really into that, make sure that they have a possibilities to join over there, like throughout the resource management point of view, that let's say you are a person in a shop, for example, and you are doing the cashier. Maybe they want to do sometimes something else also, maybe giving them an opportunity to join this kind of a project for a while and leverage from there. So and then they get empowered, and that they have more tools to establish new projects. I think there's simple things.
Okay, right. Thanks. Do you guys have any other questions? I think we can open the floor to questions. I'm looking at Niels because I kind of see him already having questions there.
Well, I just want to first of all thank you for a fascinating talk, and I think it's amazing to just see Finland as this incredible example of a culture of open collaboration, using the collective intelligence of every member of society for the betterment of the society as a whole. And I think that we can all learn from what Finland has been doing. My question is that if we say that the basis of all this is culture, right? That really, if you don't have a culture where people believe that we win together, then you don't have the systems, the structures to put that forth. And I think that we don't have that in other parts of the world, actually. It's still very individualistic.
Yeah.
All the teaching from primary school all the way to the PhD level is about the individual. But how do you get, given that culture will take a long time, how do you get the various actors' incentives to align so that you can get a quick win to show that actually this is the better way forward?
Yeah. So if you reflect that on whatever learning, in learning theories we have two main, you have internal motivation factors and you have external motivation factors. Like if you have a child and you tell to him or her that if you get in Finland we have from 4 to 10, 10 is the highest. If you get the 10, you'll get the 10 euros or something like that. It might be like the temporary thing. They go for the fast rewards. But in the learning, the main driver is the internal motivation to do things. And then it's about what kind of things there are to enlighten the internal motivation. And then it's also that the change doesn't happen in a day. So why don't you pinpoint those users and those players who are into this and build up the system together with them and show to the others that this is the winning formula. And because I've been hitting my head against the wall many times, for example, with the teachers who want to, you go there, we could be doing this. And they say to me that, oh, I already been planning my courses like this and that. And then it's like, okay, forget it. It's not going to be happening. But it's more about that, defining those ones, and then throughout them you kind of expand things. And cool thing about that is, from the university point of view, if you empower the students, then that's really powerful in that sense, because they start to ask about these things. It's not about anymore that what teacher wants, but what the students want. And actually in our university we have the slogan that we are there for you, basically meaning that we try to follow the service design approach also within our normal everyday activities. And actually our slogan is together we are stronger. So that's particularly in our university, like you said, it's in the culture. And then, as we know, it's difficult to change. But I would do them in a way that start with those ones who have a strong internal motivation and slowly build up from there. Because I think there are a lot of, I didn't show that there's some SME SME studies that we did from the healthcare and well-being in the Baltic Sea region, and they want to know the market information. They want to have an access to the users. And if you can bring those to the SMEs, you will have immediately a collaboration with the SMEs. And the students, at least in our school, they love to do these real-life projects, not like case study or theoretical thing, but actually going in the field and do things together with the users and the companies. And that's why, for example, we are once the people graduate from the school, in our school we have one of the highest employment rates. Because they already work with the companies, they already know what they are doing. So that is, and of course for the companies, it's a really good place to pinpoint who are the good users, the good students. You do a project with them and you discover, oh my God, he or she is really great. Why don't we hire him or her? Instead of, the reading the CV, I've been doing this and that. Mm-hmm. Or I did this course and I did this course. Or do you show we developed this? I would be, as an employee, hiring that person instead of somebody saying that I get 5 on this course, or whatever is the number in here. So I'm not sure about if you're pleased with the answer, but that is the kind of the philosophy how I see it.
Sure. Thanks for a great talk. It's given me a lot of structure to ideas I've had, so appreciate that very much. And perhaps to follow up on Niels' question, I'm curious what you'd see, or if I go home and I explain this to friends, family, right? It's too overwhelming probably for them, but little bits like surface design and all that I could talk about. I'm curious what you think or what you have hope for that might be the breakthrough example that people could point to anywhere across the world that says, oh, that's what open science, open innovation, everything means.
I think the best city in the Europe is Amsterdam. It was winning this kind of citizen engagement award. It was like last year, something like that. They've been able to do it in transferring in a way that they empower their citizens to run a project. So I would, of course, we have a lot of things in our region, but if you want to be this is a award for winning stuff over there. Go to see that may impress some bosses about that. So that's a pretty big example. And for example, we are part of this European network of living labs. We used to have the president for the past two seasons was from our school, but she retired, so then there's another person over there. So there are like 150 living labs across the world who are doing this. They're doing exactly the same thing as we did over there. But like in the in any iterative development process, like I said, transformation. If you haven't started the project level activities, you are not able to. It's really difficult to fast forward. Skip the steps. Let's just put it this way. Not going to happen. And of course, what you can do is you can start collaboration with the organizations who has done this kind of things, the more longer time, because we have been probably hitting the wall with the teaching everyday integration since past 20 years or something like that. So we know a few things here and there. So it's all about the complementary resources, and let's try to work together. So that is the thing. And for example, these people with the disabilities groups and the association has been really delighted when we've been kind of approaching with them, because they have this problem to make their voices heard, and they don't have that many money over there, do activities in a way, and we can help them, and as that's one of the one of the great societal challenges, and that is also the kind of one of the reasons that that we exist as a university, because we have to make the world a better place, not only like write applications. So that is not what we need. We need to solve the problems.
Maybe it goes in the same sense as these two last questions, but I'm curious to know the policymakers, the role that they play or they should play to kind of encourage this type of open innovation. Does anybody implement any actions that are going in funding or programs? Or
yeah, like I was presenting in the early phases, the European Commission, the 3O process, that will run to whole Europe. That is already defined. So there is a high-level policies, then we have the national level policies, and then we have the university level policies, and then we have the regional level policies. And those are the kind of things that who has the money is in power, right? And if the city says that we open the gate, that opens the possibilities. And actually, we're proposing with the leading design cities in the Europe a couple of years ago one project which was based on the idea that citizen-proof solutions in a way. So we were suggesting that very similar in here, that if city buys something, they shouldn't be buying anything unless it has been proven by the citizens. And of course, depending on if you buy the big thing or smaller thing, that the level of testing or level of citizen participation before the buying something it might varies. But we already have this public procurement processes which says very detailed on how we do that, but it's not actually highlighting, for example, the user engagement over there. But if that comes there as a mandatory requirement, then for the consulting companies and the university, there will be a lot of work to do on that sector. And of course, if we believe on the way of working, eventually it should be saving a lot of money, because that you do not have a solution which are not. But let's put it this way: we will have solutions that are more likely working than unless they have been tested. But there are so many examples about companies developing something and think about it. This is the thing. Before I went to university, I was working in the biggest bank in Finland, and I was doing a lot of these conceptual testings with different banking products and services. And each time, we overestimated the value for the customer and how much money they were willing to pay for the particular services. And we even did that we were testing that. What about, do the bosses know better than the workers? So I was making them to evaluate these things. The bosses didn't know even that better, the thing. So you don't have the vision unless you kind of do the collaboration with the actual end users. And even then, it's about that how your marketing and how everything else is actually happening. Will it become as a successful product or service? We wouldn't know that. And I think one point that you were raising is it's really good that there are these kind of management consulting or the service design companies or whatever, because the model that I was explaining, it's kind of complementary. It fills the gap in a way that we can use a lot of versions to collect the basic fundamental data where they can kind of continue and focus on the let's say even the more complex issues where you have the basic knowledge already available. And as we know that if you are doing a new product or service, you have to compare that to the existing offerings and how we sit in the competitive environment. And if we have that data available, it would be very easy to understand. Okay, in these tests, in this healthcare sector, we were hitting on at this level. And if we were doing enough for this one, we would be saying that there might be this threshold that you should be increasing because that seems to be leading to better success if we have this kind of results on the process. So that's why it's really low to see the kind of collaboration between these kind of companies and the universities who can help the public sector and private companies to do a better business.
Just to follow up on that, for me the fundamental tension in open innovation is that there's competition in the marketplace.
Yeah.
And open innovation basically means that we don't compete anymore. Right? So that, the question is, how do we collectively participate in the value creation? Because we're going to assume that open innovation creates a lot of value, right? As long as the competition incentive is there, then at some point, people say, I will be only open so much. Yeah. Because otherwise I will not be able to capture my fair share of the value.
Yeah. So open innovation doesn't mean that you share everything. You share what you want to share. That's of course. And then there are situations where the competitors are very natural to collaborate, like standardization stuff and stuff like that, like in the mobile phone industries and so forth. And there are studies which says that the competitors can collaborate to get the best.
No, I get that. But what I'm saying is that if we really push it, right, is that actually everything should be open at the end of the day. Why should we have anything closed? Because we will have duplication of effort, we will have people competing for talent.
Yeah.
If we just say we're in a model where open means completely open, and how do we create that so that there's the incentive, i.e. the value capture, so that everybody can participate in the value capture.
Yeah.
Because once you say that to people, it's only as open as you want it to be, then particularly in North America, where we're driven by quarterly reports and profit maximization paradigm, people will go, okay, I start off this open, and then come less and less and less and less, and then it's like, okay, we're back to being closed.
Yeah. So as we know that when we are developing a new solution, nobody knows which is the winner. Right? And there will be like multiple versions of the same thing. Like the Google wasn't the first search service. There were plenty of others, and like in every this kind of it doesn't matter if it's the digital industry or the physical industry. You have these different versions of the same kind of solutions, and eventually somebody becomes more successful than the other ones. And depending on how they, if they don't think about like these ecosystemic approaches, like the Apple became very successful because of the App Store. It's that there's a certain business model with them, how they've been arranging that. And of course, there might be a lot of debate about that. How fair is that for the?
Well, that was a very closed model, the App Store model.
Yeah, but on the other hand, it was kind of the way that that anybody would be they are uploading the apps over there. In that sense, it's an open because it's open. But I think it's about the individual companies and organizations kind of and the way how they want to do it. But in that sense, when we are talking about the research and activities where we are using public funding, and for that it's a little bit different then, because then, at least in Europe and in EU, there's a strong kind of a movement that it actually is happening. It's going to be open if you use public money. So why me as a taxpayer would be, you know, the supporting your closed company where you get all the, you know, benefits. It's my money. I was a taxpayer, so I want that to be available for all the companies. And then the winners will be those who are, you know, the best ones, and we don't have to, you know, support the kind of companies. And there's been a lot of debate, like in, for example, some Finland, that like these big companies like Nokia and those ones were receiving a lot of these kind of public research funding. Of course, they are claiming that we want to be leaders in the global market, and we, you know, to generate a lot of workplaces or whatever is the reasons over there. But then it's about that, you know, I'm not sure about if that's the right strategy. So I would be confident looking at it from that point of view, if we are using, because I'm not talking from the university point of view. So you get something from the open environment, and you use it as you want to your benefit, you know. And if you are a part of this game, you know the rules. And for example, when we are running now this training program, we have a program with the people working in the creative industries in Finland. They don't have enough jobs as a graphical designer or musician or actor or whatever. So we teach them the service design and co-creation methods, so they can use those as well as the creative skills to help the businesses to make a better business. And for that, as a part of that training program, you know, that we do these small-scale service design projects. But for the companies, we say that that will be an open reference. Because of its free of charge education, you get these resources. You are in or you're not. So we get the companies. So that's the kind of the thing. And of course, you do not bring, you know, the most secret military projects over there. You know, but something that you are comfortable of sharing. So like the cultural thing, like you mentioned before, it's about.
I was looking for universities based here in Montreal or in Canada. I'm not sure how open science is applied or if it's really developed, but how would you recommend to be the approach to building the open science capacity in a university here in Montreal?
I would go that the Commission has been doing a pretty good job in all the, there's this 3O policy, or what is, I think it's a link on the anyway, 3O policy for European Commission. There's pretty good kind of collection of the what is the big vision in there. I would suggest that. And there's a lot of these working groups. So one of our person is part of this open science policy platform. I don't remember what's the name, but anyway, she's involved with us, and she's kind of evaluates the whole stuff at the European level. So I would go there.
Well, I think if you guys don't have any more questions, I think we will end it up here. So from us at Talsom, we would like to thank you for being here. I will leave François to say a last word about the Humanitek series, because there's a couple of other events coming.
Je vais le faire en français, you don't mind if I go in French?
Yes.
Sure. Encore, merci beaucoup à Talsom. Désolé, tantôt, j'ai oublié de le mentionner, mais merci pour d'avoir aidé à organiser le premier événement. Donc, c'était une première. Comme je disais, tout le monde, en ce moment, on est en train de faire un proof of concept. Donc, il n'y a rien de parfait. On commence des petits ateliers comme ça. On essaie d'avoir le plus de monde possible pour avoir des échanges. La suite des choses est encore un peu nébuleuse. Nous, de notre côté, on commence à ramasser de l'information. On a des équipes, des membres de TechnoMontreal qui vont s'attarder à passer au sujet. Je ne sais pas encore le processus pour faire appel à la communauté pour être open, parce qu'il faut être open le plus possible pour quand même vous donner du feedback dans la vie que vous êtes venus. Mais bref, on va poursuivre. On va essayer de vous tenir au courant. Il va sûrement avoir une plateforme quelque part qui va être faite pour être capable d'échanger, de continuer à échanger. Et donc, c'est un peu ça. Puis je vous remercie encore d'être venus. C'est super apprécié. Le prochain événement n'est pas encore planifié, mais il va en avoir qui s'en viennent probablement durant les prochains mois. Et le tout se culmine par un événement annuel qui est planifié au mois de novembre, où ça va être un peu plus d'envergure, où on va traiter de techno encore, probablement, puis il va y avoir des tables de discussion par la suite. On est en train de mettre ça en place, vous allez avoir de l'information sur le sujet. Encore une fois, merci beaucoup, et merci, Teemu. Oh, yeah. Thanks
for
for
classes.
Thanks, Teemu, again, and thanks for the speech. And hopefully, you'll come back here, and we can eventually establish a collaboration with maybe a university in Quebec. That would be great.
That would be great. Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.